I think, what was it, £254 on ads?
Yeah.
And then
£278.
And then in terms of front end cash collected this month,
£15,548.
yeah, I mean, there's not many businesses. There's not many businesses that you can.
That is a 56-1 ROAS.
Yeah.
So we've spent £278, collected 15.5k. There you go.
No, I would
Pretty good launch.
We have achieved something huge this week, Jack.
Greatness.
I mean, we'll look back on this week and it will go down in history as one of the most victorious weeks of our lives. And you want to know why?
Go on.
Because my band released our songs on Spotify.
What a knobhead. For context, he's been telling me how he wanted to start this after a great week in business, and he's just started it like that. And that was a surprise to me and Henry. And now we both want to leave.
Okay, well, just for context as well. I mean, two great things have happened this week, actually. One of them being that the band I was in when I was younger, we just decided to release our music on Spotify. And so go check it out, go stream it, Polar Collective. I'm going to just give it a quick plug right there.
God, what is
going
on?
The second great thing is we filled our gym to capacity, which obviously isn't as good as the first great thing. But yeah, we sit here today after filling our second studio with over 60 spots. How does that feel? Just sum that up in one word.
Well, I'm not very good with language, but
Fair
excellent,
enough.
I guess.
Yeah.
For context, when Jake was uploading all of his Spotify rubbish, I was deep in sales consults, working really hard. So yeah, it feels good. It feels great. I'm done now. I'm done, Jake. We have filled Halstead Studio, which is amazing. We were going to go to 60. We're going to end the consult season at about 64. So. Damn, proof's in the pudding, right?
Yeah. And
Proof is in the pudding.
Well, I mean, we phoned each other up on the way home from meeting our coaches, which we'll talk about in a minute. But like, one of the things we both said to each other was we've proven that our whole launch process and the whole launch plan is not a fluke. Like, if you go through it step by step and actually implement, I mean, what we did is that we just documented our entire first launch that we did with Hadley and just copied that over to this new location. And it's worked. And not only has it worked, but it's also worked within a shorter timeline. Like, we did this in 2 months. Our first location was 3 months. We've still got a week to go before those first sessions start. And we're going to hit 60 to 64. Well, 62 we're on currently. 64 likely by the end of tomorrow.
So just for context, we've got 4 consults today. Tom's going to finish those off. We've had to cancel everyone else who couldn't be brought forward. From tomorrow onwards and say really sorry. But hopefully there'll be space on the next intake for you, which there's a lot of power in that. Unfortunately for the guys, who were looking forward to joining us, no longer can they, but they might be able to later in the year. We'll see. But so we're going to end at 64, 65 by the end of tonight.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a big conversation that we had with each other, wasn't it? About, because obviously we've witnessed here that the timetable can withstand 80 to 85 people at once, right? So, I mean, logic would suggest that, okay, we'll just go up to 80 to 85 because we had all those appointments booked in. And we could realistically do that, give it, another big push this week. But we decided to play it safe again because to us, it's one of those things where when all those people are booking sessions at the same time, I mean, this is the part of their customer experience where they don't really know the product too well. So there's going to be a lot of overwhelm in this initial stage. And obviously, when all of those people are booking in sessions at the same time, the timetable is going to fill up quite quickly. And there might be some people who haven't been able to book ahead who wanted a specific session that can't get it. And then we'd obviously have to deal with that individual. Now, if you were to add on another 20, obviously that problem, gets larger. And not only that, but also our coaches. I mean, Tom obviously coaches here and, he's hugely experienced within a group setting. But also, it's completely new environment, a new space for him, new clients as well to get used to the program. But we've got 2 other coaches who we'll talk about in a second, who, this is brand new to them as well. So it's one of those things where this is completely brand new to everyone, customers and coaches. So in order to manage that whole process to a point where, nothing breaks and nothing falls, we thought, let's get 60 in at least and see how things go. And obviously we could always add members later down the line because we've got a list of people there who wanted to join, like you said, who can't join. So yeah, it just made sense to kind of just play it safe this time around and then see how we are come Christmas time.
Yeah, I think it's important. Within this first 6 weeks, we're only going to be judged on the booking system and the sessions, right? We can't be judged on the community stuff that we do and all of that amazing stuff that kind of is the cherry on top for our product. So it's really important that the guys don't go, oh my God, I can't even get on a session. Like that would be bad news for us. So that's why we only went to 60 and not 80 front end. It would have been really, really easy for us to, make another 3 to 5K on the front end and go, yay, but that's not the reason we're doing it.
If that were to increase our chances of people not staying,
sure,
then that would have been a bad investment at the beginning. So I think this is the best. I mean, again, we don't always want to change what's worked here. Yes, we've got to improve things marginally, but to completely change intake numbers, for example, to 80 instead of 60, that could have a drastic impact in that first 6 weeks. And we found through evidence of being here last year that having 60, on the front end at the beginning at least was the perfect number to then retain over 50% in 6 weeks' time. So our hope is obviously that we achieve the same thing. But I mean, a couple of the wins that I've experienced as a somebody kind of looking in, because I know that obviously you and Tom have been facilitating a lot of these consults, is that everybody seemed to trust us way more because of our first location as well. So I think there's something to be said for the second or the third or the fourth location having that power behind it where you already exist and they can already look at customer stories, they can already look at, where you are. So there's that element of trust which we didn't have to wrestle with at the beginning. It was already there. And I think as a result of that, the close rate reflected that. And I think, what was it? There's one day this week where you sat 7 appointments and closed 6 or 7 out of 7 or something?
6 out of 7, I think. I'm just having a look at the numbers here because we're pretty much finished now. These numbers
I
won't
updated
change
these
too
this
much.
morning as well.
So, I mean, in September, all consults, we closed at 85%, which is just wild. In October, that's come down slightly to 67%. So it probably averages out to mid-70s over the course of this sales season, which is, 20-25% above KPI industry standard.
Have you got, what are you looking at there, the daily metrics tracker?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cost per acquisition is mad to me. So I went through this with Henry this morning in our meeting. That CPA number for October,
£5.36.
Yeah. So I think this month, I mean,
snort then.
All right, Peppa Pig. This month we've spent, I think, what is it, £254 on ads,
and then £278.
And then in terms of front end cash collected this month,
£15,548.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many businesses. Many businesses that you can.
That is a 56-1 ROAS.
Yeah.
So we've spent £278, collected 15.5K. There you go.
No, I would
pretty good launch.
Yeah, and I mean that 15, add another 5 onto that from the month prior as well. Near enough, and that is what a fitness studio in your local radius can do. And I will fight anybody. I won't actually, because I'm not actually a great fighter, believe it or not. I will fight anyone who tries to argue with me and says an online personal training business is better and more profitable than a local fitness studio.
No, I'll join you in that fight.
And this is just a start. We've got plans to obviously open more of these, as we'll document in this podcast. But the good news is sessions start on Monday. In terms of where we are right now, to give you a bit of an insight, you're right, Henry. Henry just looking around. To give you a bit of an insight into how this week is playing up. It's obviously next week, Monday, session start. It's Tuesday currently. So the plan this week is to let everybody into the Facebook group tomorrow. The reason we haven't just, let everybody in as and when they request to join the group is because, I mean, when you were younger, did you ever go to those house parties where you were the first person there?
All the time.
Well, I certainly did because I was a keen bean.
Yeah.
You know,
that's my best chance of picking up a woman, Jake.
This is a side note, right? I'm really ashamed to admit this, but when I used to go to house parties, I was, often turn up with my mates like you do. And every time I knock on the door, I used to look at my mates, smile, and like repeat that Kesha line from that song, saying, "Well, the party don't start till we walk in."
Oh my God. Henry's just got his head in his hands.
And
you are the most uncool person I've ever met in my life, honestly. This guy.
They seem to really find it like really cool.
I bet.
But anyway, yeah. So obviously, as you can probably gather from that statement, we were often the first people to turn up to those house parties. And when you're the first person turning up to those house parties, it's dull. You kind of regret ever going. So with a Facebook group, if you are launching a studio or if you're launching a new product and it's attached to a Facebook group, I'd highly recommend just get everybody to queue up, request to join, and then let everybody in at the same time. And that's what we're doing tomorrow. So I think we've got like 50 odd people all ready to be invited into the group. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow.
You can also get the group content ready, can't you?
Yeah. So that's kind of what I spent a lot of this morning doing, just making sure the house is ready. Having like videos in there about how to book sessions when they eventually open up on Friday. What to expect in your first sessions. Here's a sneak peek of the timetable, like all of that kind of stuff. Like introduce yourself. All of that stuff is ready so that when we invite everybody in tomorrow, they'll have all the information they need, any answers to their questions that they need. They can obviously write to us in the group. We've invited the coaches ready to answer questions. And then obviously, like I said, tomorrow they invite them in. Friday, we allow everybody to book sessions, and then on Monday is when the sessions start. So I think this week is going to be heavily focused on customer service. I'm expecting there to be a lot of questions in the next 3 or 4 days. Yeah. So obviously that's something we need to be ready for. But overall, like it's nice to be in a position where sales is finished. Like we don't need to worry about that anymore. Like we've got enough people here ready to come and join. It's now just about fulfillment.
Product.
Yeah.
Making sure as many of those recommit onto membership as possible.
Yeah, and that's the next goal. And like I've said many times in this podcast, it's almost like a checkpoint, like it's a video game where you tick off one level, and the levels we've played so far is, are people interested? Yes. Are people going to book appointments? Yes. Are people going to show up for those appointments? Yes. Are people going to sign up for the front end challenge? Yes. And the next question is, are they actually going to continue? Because that's where obviously the lifetime value is created. Because anybody could just sign up for 6 weeks and decide not to do it anymore. The mark of a great member is somebody that is willing to make this part of their lifestyle, which obviously is something we've witnessed here in Hadley and something we hope to witness in Houston.
By extension, that's a great studio though, isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, quick one from us. If you're enjoying this episode, you'll love our free weekly newsletter.
It's for current and aspiring studio owners who are looking for the latest growth hacks to sign up more members and keep them.
It's a quick 2-minute email covering the stuff we're testing in our own gyms.
So you'll be getting access to what's working today.
If you're interested, you can join 3,500 gym owners and go to thefitpreneur.com and subscribe.
That's thefitpreneur.com. Anyway, back to the episode. We also celebrated our 1-year birthday at Hadley this week.
We did. And how fast has that gone?
Crazy. Yeah, it was quite nice to see members sharing their stories over the last year. Like completely, we didn't ask them to. It was a bit of a nostalgic week, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I certainly had a takeaway to celebrate the first birthday. But not only that, because you were obviously deep in consultations and you had zero time, it was down to me and Henry to try and plan what was going to happen on Monday for our birthday here at the studio, because we just didn't want it to be like a normal day that people just turn up and we don't actually honor the fact it's our first birthday. And Henry, in his new role here as creative lead, had an idea, and all he wrote on the on our project management workflow was clown outfit Jack ? And that was enough for me to be like, okay, great idea, we'll run with it. So the idea was we bought a clown outfit. I tied up balloons, which I've never done before, by the way, and that was quite the feat.
I noticed you did them.
Yep. Why? Because they're all just deflated.
I was hitting my head on them as I was covering the door.
But you couldn't actually make the sessions in the end on the Monday morning, so Tom had to take those spots.
Yeah.
So Tom had to then step into the clown outfit, but we filmed that. We did some cool finishes at the end. But yeah, like you said, it was just nice.
Cupcakes in, we gave everyone something different.
Yeah, and it's just cool that there's, so many people who started with us on that first day back in October 2023
are here now,
are still here. And like, it's mad to think we've gone through this whole journey together. Like, people haven't just come and then just dropped off. Like, there's so many people that I look back and I was putting together a quick video that you'll be able to see on our Instagram of, that first challenge orientation happening, where it was a week before the first sessions took place and we got everybody into a room, and, seeing the faces that still come to this day, and people that we've made friends with, and people who have made friends with other friends
for life.
Yeah. And not only that, but I know, we don't often talk about it, but aesthetically and visibly, they've just completely transformed. Like, so many people, like in that first video, I was like, I don't recognize you.
Yeah.
But that's just, 3 sessions a week, accountability, nutrition support, keeping things simple can have such an impact.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Like, studio owners love to overcomplicate things when they don't need to.
Yeah.
We just kept it simple.
Exactly.
No, I love it. Where do you want to go from here?
Well, I want to talk about onboarding, because I think this is a question a lot of studio owners have.
Yeah. How we've switched things up from Hadley to Halstead.
Yeah. So, with the way we've tackled onboarding with our first location was we were very much reactive, weren't we? So it was kind of, once we hit a certain milestone, we then had to react with it with a new system or a new automation or something to kind of like fulfill the gap. And then we have a way at within Revamp internally and also within the Fitpreneur of using what we call the DAFT model. So that is essentially what we want to do at the very, very beginning is do it, automate it, finesse it, and then teach it, right? So the mistake a lot of studio owners make, they go straight to automating it. So they miss out the first part, which is do it, because that do it part gives you the level of insight you need in order to automate it. Otherwise, you're automating something that you have no proof of working. Yeah. So yeah, that's in a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
But so the way we like to do things is by doing the task ourselves. So when it came to onboarding, we could have sat there, we could have recorded loads of onboarding videos answering questions, which actually we have now. But what we did with the first location is that we actually did it, right? We got everybody into a room and you presented to everybody. You told everybody what the whole thing is going to be about. You got everybody to take out their phones, join the Facebook group. You got everybody to take out their phones, book their sessions in. Yeah. It was very much kind of like hand-to-hand combat and everything got done manually. Now, in order to repeat that process every 6 weeks, operationally very difficult, right? To get everybody all into the same room together, to do these 15-minute back-to-back presentations. So we had the choice really with Halstead as to, are we going to repeat that? Are we going to do the challenge orientation, get everybody in live on like a Saturday, do back-to-back sessions? Or are we going to leverage some of the systems and some of the tools that we've been able to build over this last year? So we went from doing it to automating it. So now in Hadley, we have onboarding videos. We cover the main questions that people have asked over the last year in those videos. It's all very kind of seamless. There's emails that go out about what to expect in your first session. So we kind of had a conversation and we're like, I don't think we should really waste those assets. Like, we should use them for Halstead. So that's what we ended up doing, is we actually ended up rolling people through that whole onboarding process. It improved their experience within the first couple of days of joining. It filled that gap from signing up to actually first session starting. And I just think that's the importance of, having a process that you undertake initially in the first place, because otherwise we'd have just kept on doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it without getting to the next stage of the DAFT model, which is to actually automate it to what we do now. And now it's just about finessing it, right? It's about making sure that those videos are the specific videos that cover people's questions they have at the beginning. Making sure little things like the wording is right in some of the descriptions, making sure that it's specific for both sites. So not one video is obviously directly correlated with one site. And once we've got to that point, which is what we're kind of working through at the moment, then it's about teaching it. And our way of teaching it is teaching it internally, which is creating a playbook out of it, an SOP, a video walkthrough, so that when we launch site number 3 or 4 or 5, we can then repeat the process without necessarily needing to figure out what to do next.
We've also talked about keeping the whelm just right? So we don't want people to get overwhelmed. We don't want people to be underwhelmed in that first few weeks, that first 6 weeks. So, about a month and a half ago, we filmed some nutrition videos, didn't we, with Kieran? Henry come in and films some really great nutrition videos, which is around education, things that are important, talked about macros and all this kind of stuff. A lot of it will be really new, good information for our members. We have planned to slot that into our onboarding sequence. So after a couple of weeks, they can log into an account and actually dive into the nutrition videos, but also we're going to add mindset videos, lifestyle videos, like different series with different coaches, depending on where their kind of zone of genius is. So we ended up saying no to that because we felt that'd be too much with everything else. Yeah. Like that's not the really important stuff they need right now. And we thought, if anything, that's just going to overwhelm people. So what we decided to do, I think, after a meeting yesterday, we decided to place those videos into the sequence about a week or two after they recommit. So in that first 6 weeks, I often talk about, let's just focus on the main things. Let's focus on 3 sessions a week, which is going to be new to 99% of people. Let's focus on 10,000 steps a day. Let's focus on 2 liters of water a day. Let's focus on, eating the right amount of protein grams, for example, things that can easily be tracked. And then after they recommit, then they can go into a bit more depth, into everything else, the nutrition side, a bit more advanced content. Now, I think that's worked really well. Like, I know everyone talks about really quick wins, but our guys are getting quick wins with just those things because it's so different. It's such a habit change. And our recommits are at 75%. So it's got to be working. I just don't think I think adding complexity to that onboarding sequence was a bad idea. Yeah. So what we decided to do is add it into, it's a bit more of a value add. So when they come to recommit, not only have we got the membership card that they get at that point, it gives them loads of local discounts around the town, but we also say, and now you're also added into your own account, so you can watch loads of different kind of trainings on nutrition, mindset, lifestyle from our different coaches, and that's another value add to them recommitting as a member.
I think when it comes to overwhelm, I think it's first important to actually define what overwhelm is. And overwhelm, in my view, is having a lack of control over something, right? So there's 2 ways to approach that. And this is something we often talk to our studio owners we work with. One being you could remain overwhelmed. In other words, having a lack of control over the situation. Or you can reframe that overwhelm to actually try and seek control or find ways to gain control over the situation. So an obvious example of that is, if you're overwhelmed with your finances as a business owner, instead of sitting there being like, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know what to do, and burying your head in the sand, you can actually gain control over that situation by just tracking your expenses or tracking your income and having somewhere that you can look to track everything.
As often as possible.
As often as possible, right? So suddenly what you will then soon realize is you're no longer overwhelmed about your finances because you know exactly what's going on. You have control over it. So when it comes to that first 6-week program, when we potentially risk overwhelming people is when we start providing an experience that they feel like they don't have control over. So what do? Well, we focus all of our efforts into stuff which they can easily have control over. And those things are often actionable, tactical. They can point at them, right? So 3 sessions a week, I can control that. It's easy. 3 sessions a week, I can easily put that into my diary.
10,000 steps a day. I have a watch that tracks that.
Yeah, and remember, it's not like up your step count. It's 10,000. I know some trainers might dispute that, which, it's fine. But again, we're talking the general population here. We give them clear actionable instructions that don't overwhelm them. So 10,000 steps a day, 2 liters of water.
We say no alcohol.
No alcohol.
Well. Try not to have any alcohol for the first 6 weeks.
Free, Facebook group, join this. Yeah. So and what we tend to do is we stagger those instructions so they don't all come at once. Because if you're get an email with, here's a list of 10 things that you need to do in order to kick off your experience, overwhelmed. They don't have control over that, right? It's like, oh my God, I don't know when I'm going to be able to do that. So instead we just drip feed these little things across their onboarding. So it's like, join the Facebook group. Here's why, here's what to expect in your first session. So we want them to get to a point where before that very first session, they have so much understanding as to what it is and what they can expect and how to achieve results that is not even a question, right? Now, if we were to add in the nutrition videos and the courses on recovery and the courses on sleep, suddenly what that is like, oh my God, there's potentially hours worth of content that I need to consume in order to get a value for my money or in order to get a result from this.
Yeah.
So again, that's overwhelm because you don't know whether you need to sit down for an hour, 2 hours, whether you're going to be able to actually take in all the information, whether you're going to be able to actually apply all that information. So that's why we concluded that having those kind of additional resources in place are better geared to helping someone sustain their results or sustain that lifestyle, as opposed to in order to achieve those initial results, which you and I know, everyone listening to this podcast know, if you want to get results within 6 weeks, it's relatively simple if you just stick to a very clear and simple plan. In order to sustain results over a longer period of time, obviously that's where the challenges come in, and that's where you may need that further education, which is why we're going to add it in at that point, because that's at a point where they have so much control over the product that now they're looking for those extra wins. So I think it was a good idea from us not to include that in the first onboarding. But yeah, just to sum up, we've now made the onboarding, we've automated it within Hadley. We've automated it to a sense in Halstead. And what we'll now do is we'll finesse it over time and make sure it's all in place. And the benefit of automatic onboarding is that we can asynchronously bring people into the business. So we don't have to, have big intakes in at the same time. If we wanted to, we can continue selling now way into the challenge, and everybody can start their 6 weeks at different times. Yeah,
I love it. I think that's it, Jake. I've got nothing else to go through.
No, I mean, another thing we did is obviously we took coaches out for dinner. But I mean, if you want to hear about what my chicken burger was like, I don't know if that's really worth talking about. But yeah, sessions start Monday. We're full. This was our goal. You're listening back 3 or 4 episodes. We said we want to fill the gym before we open our doors. We did that. So now it's about trying to get at least 50% of them in 3 or 4 weeks' time say yes, I want to continue being a monthly member.
Yeah, one final takeaway from the dinner and the beer drinkers out there. Do you know the beer Mahoo? Mahoo? It's actually called Mao.
There we go.
There you go. So I mean, you learn anything from this pod, that's what you learn.
I mean, there's the Huberman Lab, and then there's the Fitpreneur podcast, and the rate of facts we expose are different, but equally very valuable in everyday settings.
Jake said to me, I think we should get a couple of beers and have it on YouTube where we actually cheers to our launch on this pod, but it's 11 in the morning, so we decided against it. But Henry wouldn't have been surprised.
Not sure if we'd be advocating health
with morning drinking.
But anyway, good chat. Well done, Jack. You done your part of the role, which was filling it up with members.
Cheers. I enjoyed it, and you got some songs out on Spotify. So let's end there. Peace and love, guys. That's the pod.